My ex-wife thought she had successfully destroyed every piece of evidence that could prove what she did to our daughter. She wiped devices, burned documents, and lied to everyone. But what she didn't know was that I had a hidden USB drive containing everything. And when I finally turned it over, her entire world came crashing down. My former spouse was apprehended for pilfering opioids from her hospice patients and distributing them as dietary aids. Consequently, I invested nearly all my resources to secure sole custody of our 14-year-old daughter, Lucy. A year later, after expending tens of thousands of dollars, my ex-partner's visitation with Lucy is limited to 2 weekends monthly. Witnessing my dedication, Lucy granted me her complete trust, and for a period, I reciprocated that faith. I never intruded upon her personal space, her device, or anything of the sort, until I stumbled upon a weighing device concealed beneath the bathroom cabinet, draped with a cloth, as if to evade detection. My usual response to anything unsettling was to address it directly. "It's for my venture," she clarified, her voice devoid of emotion. "Clients prefer to monitor their advancement, you see." Coincidentally, around the time of our marital dissolution, she had launched a nutritious meal preparation service catering to busy scholars at her educational institution. I had felt immense pride in her enterprising demeanor, yet having been a teenager myself, I recognized the signs of concealment from parental oversight. Thus, that weekend, while Lucy was attending her mother's court-ordered visit, I engaged in an act I still feel some regret about. I investigated her living space. What I uncovered turned my stomach. Numerous journals detailing meal regimens with alarming caloric restrictions. Day 1, 500 calories. Day 7, 200 calories, designated as a juice cleanse. There was also a log tracking client weights with competitive standings. It was then I noticed her MacBook resting on her bed, and fortunately, I decided to examine it. That's how I discovered Venmo transfers totaling nearly $8,000, along with Discord captures from a group discussion titled Lucy's Angels, boasting 11,000 participants. These included guides on suppressing appetite, strategies for enduring bodily shutdown due to deprivation, and a spreadsheet listing the most potent laxative brands. It appeared to be a collective where individuals were mutually encouraging each other's eating disorders. I struggled to comprehend how she had managed to conceal all of this from me for such an extended period, until I reviewed her dialogue with her mother. It was there I found the communication from her mother that ignited my fury. "Recall our agreement. 30% of earnings, or I contact Child Protective Services regarding you and your father." Suddenly, the influx of new attire from Urban Outfitters and Brandy Melville became clear. I heard Lucy's vehicle enter the driveway and swiftly restored everything to its place. My young daughter, who once enjoyed baking treats with me and sharing them with neighbors, was now orchestrating an eating disorder enterprise. Girls were being admitted to hospitals. What if a fatality occurred? What if Lucy faced apprehension? When Lucy entered, I was seated at the kitchen table, her dietary schemes laid out before me. Her complexion turned utterly pale. "Dad, I can explain," she began. "Sweetheart, we need to converse," I interjected, maintaining a soft tone despite my profound dismay. "Assist me in comprehending how this began." She dissolved into tears. "I never wished to do it, but Mother asserted that if I didn't generate income for her, she would inform the court that you assaulted me. She instructed me on every aspect: how to identify susceptible young women, how to pit their weights against each other, how to phrase matters to avoid legal culpability." Her statements struck me forcefully. Since the marital separation, I had been so consumed by work that I neglected to be present for my Lucy, and now I was bearing the consequences. Lucy proceeded, "She possesses captures of the Discord conversations displaying your computer's IP address throughout. Who will believe you were unaware?" she inquired, her voice trembling. That evening, I promptly contacted my legal counsel. I recognized the names of 3 of the girls. They attended Lucy's school. I telephoned their parents to ascertain if they were aware of the situation. One had cardiac problems, another kidney ailments, and a third had attempted self-harm, believing she was too obese to continue living. The entire ordeal disoriented me, and I unexpectedly found myself telephoning my former wife to try reasoning with her one final time. I anticipated an apology or at least some semblance of remorse, but instead, she let out a witch-like cackle. "Oh, did she inform you about our small enterprise? Be cautious, Kevin. I possess recordings of you consuming alcohol during virtual meetings. A single alteration, and you'll appear intoxicated at school functions." Rather than involving law enforcement, which would likely jeopardize Lucy's prospects, I strove to enroll her in intensive counseling. I reduced my professional commitments to be present at home daily after school. My former wife, Claire, intensified her intimidation, appearing outside our residence, submitting baseless grievances to the school, and informing relatives that I was fostering Lucy's misguided business aspirations. The initial weeks were arduous. Lucy barely communicated with me, burdened by remorse for the girls she had harmed. By the second month, she began to confide in therapy about her mother's coercive tactics. By the third month, she inquired if we could prepare wholesome meals together, genuine ones with appropriate calorie content. I was in the midst of preparing a recovery supplement for her when a knock sounded at the door. It was Child Protective Services. I opened it to find Janet Mills, a CPS worker with weary eyes and a clipboard, on my porch. Behind her, Claire held up her phone, documenting everything with a smirk that churned my stomach. "Mr. Morrison," Janet inquired, "we've received reports of child endangerment involving an eating disorder operation being conducted from this residence." My thoughts raced, but I maintained a steady voice. "Lucy is upstairs, preparing for her therapy session." I glanced at Claire, who mouthed "game over" behind Janet's back. Something about her attire bothered me. The identical blazer and skirt ensemble she had worn years prior during another unproductive investigation. Janet stepped inside, her gaze sweeping the kitchen. The protein powder and mass gainer ingredients I had been using for Lucy's recovery drink sat on the counter. Claire's fingers moved across her phone screen, and moments later, I heard Lucy's phone vibrate from upstairs. She appeared at the top of the staircase, still in her sleepwear, and froze upon seeing her mother. I immediately noticed the long sleeves. It was 80 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and she was concealing the intravenous bruises from last week's hospitalization, the one Claire was unaware of because Lucy had implored me not to disclose it. "I need to speak with Lucy privately," Janet stated, placing her clipboard on the kitchen table. Lucy practically flew down the stairs and grasped my hand. "Can my father remain? She's clearly being coached." Claire interjected from the doorway. Janet's eyes darted between us, assessing the situation. Claire seized the moment. "Lucy, darling, tell Miss Mills about the business Daddy helped you establish from his computer." My phone inundated me with notifications. 3 parents whose daughters had been hospitalized, my lawyer, Dr. Martinez, all cautioning me not to allow Lucy to speak without legal representation. I glanced at the screen, then at Janet. "Actually, Lucy has a therapy appointment in 20 minutes. I presented Janet with the appointment confirmation on my phone. Claire's expression darkened. She knew I had just rescheduled it from that afternoon. "I have screenshots," Claire announced, producing a folder. The Discord server displays Kevin's IP address prominently in the administrative actions posted during his work hours. The doorbell rang. Claire opened it before I could react, revealing Sophia's mother standing there with reddened eyes. "I'm here to support the intervention," she declared. "My daughter nearly died because of what was occurring in this house." I observed Lucy subtly angling her phone, feigning to check the time. The recording application was open, a tactic I had taught her after the divorce for her own protection. The timestamp indicated she had been recording for 3 months. Janet surveyed the increasing number of people in my kitchen. "Lucy remains here for now, but I'll need to interview everyone separately, beginning with you, Mr. Morrison." Claire's smirk faltered slightly. She had anticipated Lucy's immediate removal. In my home office, Janet settled into the chair opposite my desk. "Sophia's mother also filed a complaint," she stated, opening her folder, though it's noteworthy that both complaints utilize identical legal phrasing. I observed her wedding ring catch the light. The distinctive Celtic design seemed familiar, but I couldn't place it. Through the thin walls, I overheard Claire's voice in the living room. "Remember this camping trip, just before Daddy began drinking heavily?" She must have been showing Lucy photographs on her phone, images I believed I had purged from our shared cloud years ago. My work phone rang. I allowed it to go to voicemail, but Janet clearly heard my boss's message. "Kevin, we need to address the situation with your daughter's victims. I've received some troubling emails with screenshots." The doorbell chimed again. Dr. Martinez's voice carried from the front door, but Claire's was louder. "She's not qualified for crisis intervention." I wondered how Claire possessed such specific knowledge about Lucy's therapist. Janet produced a printed email from her folder. "Ms. Morrison provided documentation indicating the business was registered to your home IP address." She pointed to the timestamp. "This was dispatched during your work presentation last Tuesday." Desperation constricted my throat. Check Lucy's arms. She was hospitalized last week for malnourishment. She was a victim too. The words escaped before I could restrain them. Lucy had implored me to keep that private. I heard Lucy's footsteps pounding up the stairs and her bedroom door slamming. Claire's voice drifted from the living room, praying for my daughter's recovery from her father's forced hospitalization. The Instagram story notification sound followed. Through the window, I observed neighbors peering from their yards. More vehicles arrived, Claire's boyfriend Jake's BMW, 2 additional CPS vehicles, and an individual I didn't recognize with a press badge dangling from their rearview mirror. Janet continued taking notes as Claire's voice grew louder in the living room. She was showing someone a binder. I've documented every troubling incident. Lucy's weight loss, peculiar behavior, the isolation tactics Kevin employs. Dr. Martinez attempted to enter through the back door, but Jake intercepted her. His voice was low but menacing. The therapist who's been alone with a troubled teenage girl for months wants to interfere? I pulled out my phone, presenting Janet with Lucy's therapy records. Look at these. They document Claire's manipulation and threats. Janet's expression shifted slightly. She had witnessed this dynamic previously, but Claire was prepared. Those are the sessions where Kevin drove her and waited outside. Claire called out, somehow knowing precisely what I was showing Janet. We don't know what he instructed her to say. My laptop sat on the desk. Claire's old email account remained logged in from when we shared finances. I could search for evidence of her broader network, but accessing it would technically constitute hacking. Janet's phone vibrated. I need to interview Lucy now, she declared. In Lucy's room, Claire sat on the bed, stroking Lucy's hair. I know Daddy means well, but remember how we missed your school play for work? Lucy's journal lay open on her nightstand. Claire was reading from it. Janet requested both of us to be present for Lucy's interview. Claire continually mentioned events that never transpired. Remember when Daddy forgot to collect you from dance class, and you had to walk home in the rain? Lucy appeared perplexed. She had never taken dance. My phone vibrated with an email notification. A draft email I didn't recall composing appeared in my sent folder. Lucy's getting too thin, but the business is too lucrative to cease. Sophia arrived with her mother, blinking rapidly. Her tell when fabricating. Lucy stated her father knew about the meal plans, but required the funds. Claire produced her phone. I have a voicemail Kevin left after a work dinner. She played it on speaker. My slightly slurred voice filled the room. Loosey-goosey. Apologies I missed dinner again. Prepare yourself something wholesome. It was completely distorted. Janet checked her phone. There will be a formal custody review hearing next week. Claire's lawyer had already submitted a 50-page document. The timestamp indicated it had been prepared weeks ago. I excused myself to use the restroom, but instead proceeded to my office. Lucy's Discord password was stored in my browser. She had instructed me to commit it to memory for emergencies. The messages loaded, unveiling conversations between Claire and other mothers, along with training documents, profit-sharing agreements, and a local network of mothers in town. Claire was instructing other maternal teams on her business framework. Dr. Martinez appeared in my office doorway, her face pale. Kevin, I need to inform you of something before. She paused upon seeing my laptop screen displaying Claire's network. She offered me a position, Dr. Martinez whispered, at a clinic Jake's family owns, commencing next month. I declined, but she possessed knowledge of my daughter's struggles. My fingers moved rapidly, capturing screenshots of everything. The instructional videos depicted Claire demonstrating psychological manipulation tactics, using Lucy as her illustration. One video, titled Cultivating Competition for Maximum Profit, infuriated me. I conveyed everything to my legal representative. His immediate response was, delete everything. Claire filed a restraining order during the CPS visit. You're violating it by accessing her communications. The timestamp on the restraining order indicated 2:47 p.m., precisely when Janet had arrived. Dr. Martinez's phone rang. She answered, her face crumbling as she listened. I comprehend, she stated quietly. Conflict of interest? Yes, I'll dispatch the withdrawal letter today. She hung up and looked at me with tears in her eyes. I can no longer be Lucy's therapist. I apologize. Through the window, I observed more cars arriving. Parents from Lucy's school were congregating on my lawn, some holding signs. Protecting our daughters, one read. A group chat notification appeared on my phone. I had been added to something called Justice for ED Victims. The messages were divided. Half blamed me for enabling Claire through neglect. The other half advocated for Claire's prosecution. Several mentioned litigation. One parent, a school board member, suggested Lucy required foster care, away from both of us. My phone vibrated with a text from an unknown number. A photograph of Lucy weeping in her room filled the screen. The message read, she's safer with her mother. Cease fighting, or this escalates. In the reflection of Lucy's window, I could see Jake holding his phone at the perfect angle. I hurried back to Lucy's room, where Janet was concluding the interview. Claire smiled sweetly. I've extended an offer through my lawyer. Kevin can relinquish everything, grant me full custody, and I'll ensure Lucy receives appropriate treatment at Serenity Hills. Serenity Hills, the facility Jake's family owned, the one with 3 pending lawsuits for patient mistreatment. No, I stated firmly. Claire's lawyer must have been listening, because within minutes, a notification appeared in the parent group chat. Father refuses treatment for sick daughter, more concerned with winning than healing. Janet gathered her papers. The emergency custody hearing is scheduled for Thursday, 48 hours. She looked between us. I suggest you both prepare thoroughly. After everyone departed, I sat in Lucy's empty room. She had gone to stay with my sister, Sarah, for the night at Janet's suggestion. Her old diary from freshman year rested on the shelf. I opened it, my hands trembling. The entries from 2 months before the divorce chilled me to the bone. Claire had already been instructing her about calories, about good and bad foods. The business had not corrupted Lucy. Claire had been grooming her for months while we were still married. My phone rang. 3 different mothers, all with similar narratives. Claire had approached them about franchising the model to their daughters, training materials for $500, monthly coaching calls, a percentage of profits. She said you were on board. One mother informed me that you'd help set up the technical side. My lawyer telephoned next. Kevin, I must be candid. Claire never fought vigorously during the divorce. I assumed she was simply exhausted, but looking back, she desired you to have custody while she constructed this network. Everything coalesced, the half-hearted custody dispute, the effortless victory I believed I had achieved. Claire had orchestrated it all. I spent the night fabricating a false identity, concerned mom of ED daughter. Within hours, I was granted access to Claire's private training cohort. The videos were horrifying. Claire instructing mothers on how to identify susceptible young women, how to foster rivalry among them, and how to phrase everything to circumvent legal accountability. But I transgressed a boundary. I downloaded her videos and manipulated them, adding context that made her appear even worse, emphasizing the most egregious moments, and inserting subtitles that subtly distorted her meaning. I rationalized it was for Lucy, for all the girls, but I recognized I was transforming into something I despised. The following morning, I met with Sophia at a coffee shop. Her mother waited in the vehicle, documenting everything for her lawsuit. I need to ascertain the truth, I stated gently. When did this truly commence? Sophia's hands trembled. Lucy initially recruited me, but then her mother began instructing me directly, claiming I could earn more if I excluded Lucy. She blinked rapidly. I apologize. I was simply perpetually hungry, and the money provided assistance. I pledged to aid her recovery if she testified truthfully. Another boundary crossed, manipulating a sick child for information. Dr. Martinez telephoned that afternoon. Claire is aware of my daughter's bulimia, she stated. She says she'll expose it if I don't support her narrative. Kevin, I have no alternative. You always possess a choice, I retorted coldly. I am also aware of your daughter. Testify truthfully, or I will ensure everyone knows the true reason for your withdrawal from Lucy's case. The words tasted like venom. Dr. Martinez's response arrived via email an hour later. You are just like Claire now. The timestamp indicated she had sent it during what would have been my own therapy appointment, the one I had been neglecting since this began. But my threat proved futile. Claire's lawyer disclosed that Dr. Martinez had already provided a deposition supporting Claire weeks prior, anticipating this precise scenario. That evening, Lucy messaged me from Sarah's house. Perhaps mom's approach is more effective. At least she's honest about exploiting people. The words cut deeper than any blade. I drove to Claire's boyfriend's investment property. He owns several residences around town. I informed him I needed to reside closer to the courthouse for the proceedings. He assented, likely because Claire wished to monitor me. The apartment overlooked Lucy's bedroom window at our house. That night, I searched the apartment. In a locked filing cabinet, I discovered receipts for bulk laxative purchases, client rosters listing minor girls' names, ages, and target weights, and profit spreadsheets revealing over $200,000 in revenue across the network. Jake had been supplying the laxatives, taking his own share. But the most disturbing revelation concerned Sophia. She had not been a victim who subsequently turned. She had been Claire's initial recruit, trained to infiltrate Lucy's peer group. When profits declined, Claire had instructed her to expose everything, knowing it would lead to this juncture. I found my own text to Lucy from months ago. So proud of your business success. Love seeing you take initiative. Your entrepreneurial spirit astounds me. While I had been commending her business acumen, she had been losing weight before my very eyes. Claire would weaponize every one of these messages against me. Lucy's old dollhouse sat in the corner of the apartment, items Claire had taken during the divorce. Inside, hidden in the tiny attic, was a USB drive, Lucy's genuine evidence, concealed from both parents. The drive contained everything, but acquiring it had necessitated manipulating Claire's younger daughter, Mia, who was visiting. I had asked the 8-year-old to show me Lucy's old hiding places, pretending it was a game. She had been so eager to assist, unaware she was betraying her sister. Mia had already shed 5 pounds, Claire's next casualty, and I had exploited her nonetheless. That night, I located Lucy's actual diary in the dollhouse. The truth was more dire than I had imagined. Lucy had commenced restricting food on her own before Claire became involved, but Claire had discovered it and weaponized it, transforming it into a business model. I sat there holding the diary, knowing I could add entries to make Claire appear as a direct abuser rather than an opportunist. Who would know? Lucy hadn't written in it for months. I picked up a pen and began writing in my best imitation of Lucy's handwriting. Mom struck me when I refused to recruit more girls. Mom threatened to end her life if I didn't meet quotas. Lies intermingled with truth. I was destroying existing evidence while fabricating new. A soft sound made me look up. A teddy bear on the shelf, one of Mia's. Its eyes glinted in the light. I approached and found the tiny camera live streaming to the cloud. The timestamp indicated it had been recording for hours. Claire possessed everything. Me manipulating Mia, me forging entries, me becoming the monster she had depicted me as. My phone rang. My boss. Kevin, I regret to inform you. We've received evidence that you accessed Claire's accounts from your work computer. That constitutes grounds for immediate termination, no severance. Insurance concludes Friday. The walls were closing in. Every action I had taken to safeguard Lucy had provided Claire with more ammunition. Every minor triumph had created new vulnerabilities. The judge mandated psychological assessments for all involved parties. The appointed psychologist was Dr. Patricia Hendricks. A swift inquiry revealed she was Claire's cousin by marriage, a fact Claire had likely known when she orchestrated this jurisdiction. I drove past the courthouse where I had secured custody just a year prior, the very edifice where everything would conclude in 2 days. But this time, Claire would occupy my former position, and I would be the one contending to retain access to my daughter. My sister, Sarah, telephoned. Kevin, I love you, but I must inquire. Did you ever contemplate that Lucy might have initiated this herself, that she blamed Mom to shield you? I recall her clandestine diet during freshman year, even before the divorce. Even Sarah was beginning to question me. The parental coalition was shifting hourly. Those whose daughters were recuperating aligned with me, while those whose daughters remained unwell attributed blame to me for enabling Claire. Lawyers circled like predators, coordinating without their clients' awareness, perceiving prospects for settlements from both of us. My financial reserves were depleted, credit cards maxed from legal expenses and Lucy's care. No employment, no income. My lawyer required another retainer, which I could not afford. I attempted to see Lucy at school during lunch, but Claire appeared with a court order for lunch supervision. I was escorted off school grounds. The documentation had been filed weeks ago, merely awaiting this opportune moment. My name was removed as an emergency contact, superseded by Jake's. That night, I slept in my vehicle outside Lucy's window at Sarah's house. Just before midnight, the porch light flickered twice, our old signal for I'm okay. But she was not okay. None of us were. Claire messaged me a photograph the next morning. Lucy with Mia at a breakfast table. Mia's plate contained 3 strawberries and water. The caption read, imparting wholesome routines to the next generation. I contacted CPS regarding Mia, but it backfired dramatically. The report was flagged as a vengeful father making baseless allegations. My credibility was officially obliterated. The notes depicted me as fixated on dietary and weight concerns, potentially projecting. 2 hours later, Mia was hospitalized for dehydration. Claire immediately attributed blame to my harassment for inducing stress-related illness in both daughters. The hospital social worker, inundated with cases, deemed both parents problematic and advocated for removing both Lucy and Mia from our custody. The ultimate blow originated from Lucy herself. She had been constructing her own case for 3 months, recording hours of audio of both of us, showing me pledging to rectify everything while overlooking her depression, Claire instructing her to monetize suffering, both of us utterly failing her. She had retained her own legal counsel with funds from the enterprise, not to align with either parent, but to champion her own interests. The custody hearing was scheduled for tomorrow. Claire possessed her network, her documentation, her cousin the psychologist. I had nothing but the truth, and even that was tainted by my own desperate actions. I had become precisely what Claire asserted I was, a father so consumed by victory that I had lost sight of what truly mattered. Lucy did not require me to prevail. She needed me to be the father I had been before all this commenced, the one who baked cookies with her, the one who trusted her. But it was too late for that now. We were all too damaged, too deeply entrenched in the conflict to recall what tranquility resembled. Tomorrow, a judge would determine our destinies, but in reality, we had already determined them ourselves. The venture Claire had taught Lucy to establish had annihilated us all. The true commodity was not meal plans or weight reduction. It was devastation, packaged and marketed to susceptible young women by the very individuals who should have safeguarded them. And tomorrow, everyone would witness precisely what we had become in our struggle to prove we were the superior parent. The truth was, neither of us deserved her anymore. The morning of the custody hearing, I awoke in my vehicle to find a process server tapping on the window, more paperwork from Claire's lawyer, an emergency motion alleging I had been stalking Mia at the hospital. The security footage would show me in the parking lot, though I had never entered. I drove to the courthouse early, hoping to intercept my lawyer before the hearing. He was already there, appearing exhausted. "Kevin, you must grasp something. The judge has viewed the teddy bear footage. Claire's team dispatched it last night." My stomach plummeted. The fabricated diary entries, me manipulating an 8-year-old, everything. "There's more," he continued. "Dr. Hendrick's evaluation arrived. She is recommending supervised visitation only for both of you." Through the courthouse windows, I observed Claire arrive with her retinue. Jake, her lawyer, several parents from the support group. She had dressed Lucy in a conservative ensemble that made her appear younger, more vulnerable. Lucy's eyes were reddened, fixed on the ground. The courtroom quickly filled. Parents from both factions, reporters from the local newspaper, CPS workers. Janet Mills sat in the back row, her expression inscrutable. I noticed she was no longer wearing her wedding ring. Judge Chun called the hearing to order. Claire's lawyer presented first, portraying me as a negligent father who had enabled his daughter's perilous enterprise while heavily consuming alcohol. The teddy bear footage played on a screen, me fabricating entries, me inquiring of Mia about hiding places. My face appeared monstrous in the grainy video. Then came the parents, one by one, testifying about their daughter's hospitalizations, the medical expenses, the ongoing therapy. Sophia's mother broke down, describing discovering her daughter unconscious on the bathroom floor. Each narrative was another nail in my coffin. Claire took the stand next, the epitome of maternal concern. She conceded knowing about the business, but asserted she had been attempting to shield Lucy from my reaction. I knew Kevin would overreact and further traumatize her. I was endeavoring to manage it delicately. My lawyer's cross-examination exposed the network, the training videos, the profit-sharing, but Claire had a rebuttal for everything. She had been amassing evidence. She had been protecting other girls by instructing their mothers on warning signs. Every incriminating fact was twisted into an act of heroism. During a recess, Lucy's legal representative approached me in the corridor, a young woman named Nathaniel Chun, no relation to the judge. "Lucy wishes to speak with you before she testifies," she stated. I found Lucy in a small conference room, still in that dreadful conservative attire. She appeared significantly older than 14. "I am going to disclose everything," she stated quietly. "About Mom's network, about your deceptions, about how you both exploited me. Lucy, I do not wish to reside with either of you." Her voice was unwavering, resolute. "Aunt Sarah said she can accommodate me. She has been sober for 2 years now. She comprehends what it means to reach rock bottom." The revelation struck me like a physical blow. Sarah, whom I had dismissed as unstable, had been quietly reconstructing her life while I dismantled mine. Back in the courtroom, Lucy took the stand. Her testimony was devastating in its lucidity. She detailed Claire's manipulative tactics, the threats, the business model, but she did not spare me either. The overlooked indications, the commendation for her entrepreneurial spirit while she starved, the way I had become so fixated on triumph that I ceased truly seeing her. "Both my parents love me," she stated, looking directly at the judge. "But currently, their affection is poisonous. They need to rectify themselves before they can be my parents again." She played audio recordings from her phone, 3 months of evidence. Claire instructing her to identify overweight girls with affluent parents. Me pledging to resolve everything while doing nothing but quarreling. Both of us utilizing her suffering as ammunition. The courtroom was silent when she concluded. She sobbed, but I had witnessed those feigned tears previously. My turn to testify came next. I confessed everything. The fabricated diary entries, manipulating Mia, accessing Claire's emails, threatening Dr. Martinez. Every desperate, dreadful act I had committed in the guise of protecting Lucy. I convinced myself it was for her, I stated, my voice faltering. But somewhere along the way, it became about defeating Claire, about being correct. I lost sight of what Lucy genuinely required. Claire's lawyer attempted to portray my confession as further manipulation, but the damage was already done. We had both revealed ourselves as unfit parents. Dr. Hendricks testified about her evaluation. Despite being Claire's cousin, her assessment was brutal for both of us. Both parents exhibit narcissistic tendencies and deficient boundaries. They are ensnared in a toxic dynamic that is inflicting severe psychological harm upon Lucy. The final witness was unexpected. Mia, Claire's younger daughter, had been brought in by her father, Claire's first ex-husband. She was in a wheelchair, still frail from her hospitalization. "Mommy said I was getting pretty," Mia whispered into the microphone. "She said 3 strawberries would make me beautiful, like Lucy." Claire's composure finally shattered. She sobbed, reaching for Mia, but her ex-husband pulled the wheelchair back. He had been documenting everything as well, building his own custody case. Judge Chun called a brief recess. When we returned, Lucy was seated with Sarah in the gallery. My sister appeared different, healthier, clear-eyed. She held Lucy's hand tightly. The judge's ruling was swift and comprehensive. Emergency custody to Sarah, pending home studies and evaluations. Claire was apprehended on charges of child endangerment and fraud. The network evidence was too damning to disregard. I received supervised visitation only, 2 hours per week at a court-approved facility. Both parents will undergo intensive therapy for a minimum of 2 years before any reconsideration of custody, Judge Chin declared. Lucy Morrison has demonstrated remarkable fortitude and lucidity in an impossible predicament. This court's priority is her safety and recovery. As the bailiff escorted Claire away in handcuffs, she looked back at Lucy one last time. "I'm sorry, baby," she mouthed. Lucy turned away. The courtroom slowly emptied. Parents embraced their daughters more tightly. Lawyers exchanged business cards. The reporter scribbled notes for what would be a minor article in tomorrow's local section. Parents battle over teens' eating disorder business. Outside, I observed Sarah assisting Lucy into her vehicle. My sister paused before entering the driver's seat and looked back at me. 2 years, Kevin. Get yourself in order. She'll require her father someday. A genuine father. They drove away, leaving me standing on the courthouse steps. My phone vibrated with an email from my former employer. They discovered an inconsistency in my expense reports from last year. More repercussions were imminent. I walked to my car, passing a group of girls from Lucy's school. They whispered and gestured, but I continued onward. Tomorrow, I would begin seeking employment, construction, perhaps, something physical, something honorable. That night, I sat in my vacant house. Lucy's room remained untouched, her recovery beverages still in the refrigerator. I retrieved my phone and located a therapist specializing in family trauma. The initial appointment was scheduled for next week. 2 years. Sarah was correct. Lucy would eventually need her father. Not the father who fabricated evidence and intimidated unwell women. Not the father who became so engrossed in triumph that he forgot what he was striving for. But perhaps, if I undertook the necessary effort, I could become the father she merited. Claire would be released on bail within days. I knew her network was already fragmenting. Mothers turning against one another, girls gradually recuperating or descending deeper. The harm was done. All we could do now was endeavor to heal. I considered telephoning Lucy, then recalled I was prohibited from contact outside supervised visits. Instead, I composed a letter I would never dispatch. I regret my failure to you. I regret becoming someone you could not trust. I regret making your suffering about myself. I love you. I will improve. I tore it up and discarded it. Words were inexpensive. Lucy had heard enough words. The true work would be in the action. 2 years of therapy, 2 years of reconstruction, 2 years of learning to be a father without being a combatant. In the morning, I would begin searching for work. In the afternoon, I would attend my first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. My drinking had transcended social consumption since all this began. Small steps toward transforming into someone Lucy could trust once more. The house felt empty, but for the first time in months, it also felt tranquil. The conflict was over. We had all lost. Now came the more arduous phase,